Hi.
What's happening?
Uh, Terry, great to see you. And there's Rob. All right, I'm just adding, if you want me to add you to the calendar invites for this, so it'll populate on your calendar, just put that in the chat and I will do that. This is every first and third Thursday, every month. Hey, Rob, how are
Hey,
you?
Suzanne. I'm good. How are you? Good to see you.
Awesome. You
Sorry I'm
too.
late.
Oh, quite all right. We're just getting started. Making sure everybody's added to the calendar and we're good to go. All right. So Notebook LM. I want this to be interactive and I want you to contribute, of course, because we're all going to learn from each other here, different ideas, how to use Notebook LM. If you haven't used it at all, awesome. 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 You're going to love this tool. And I call this my second brain. So it's a place to organize content, ideas. And if you're on the online world and, for example, you see a social media post that inspires you, you could have a brain in Notebook LM or a notebook that you save all of those posts, copy and paste them, and then you could save up to 50 posts that inspire you, and then actually create your own content from that inspiration. So that's one way. Currently, I'm using it to keep track of book summaries, and I'm going to give you a little tour of my notebook and the different ways that I'm using it. One of my favorites is that if you load it with content, you can load URLs, you can load YouTube videos with just the link, you can cut and paste content, you can use content you've already created on your blog. So imagine a whole notebook filled with your top 50 blog articles, and you could create a course, you could create an outline, you can create a study guide. So the possibilities are endless. And I think the most important part is to be curious and just start playing with this tool to help you create, whether it's workshops, content, or just a place to store information and actually be able to use it. So one of my largest notebooks, that's what we'll jump into today. And if you want to open Notebook LM in back of this meeting, that would be super helpful. So you could dive in and actually create something while we're doing this. It's a Google product. So if you haven't looked it up, just type in Notebook LM and it'll ask you to log into it with your Google ID and you should be good to go. Thanks, Sherry. You're always so good with the links and so fast.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it.
Love it.
I have a question. How is this
Uh-huh.
different than you use Evernote? I use OneNote.
Yes.
Right. So,
Mhm.
what benefit do I have of get another another thing I
The
need to use?
searchability and the fact that you can load up a notebook full of all different content. So a blog post from somebody you follow, to your own blog post, to a YouTube video from someone else, to a book summary, all in the same topic, and then be able to ask it questions based on just the content that you've shared with
Ah,
it.
got
So
it.
that's the difference. And
Okay.
the part that I like is that it's different mediums of information that you can share with it. So that means when I was working on my sales notebook, hi Elsa, when I was working on my sales notebook, it looked like a couple YouTube videos. It looked like some personal notes that I've taken in different sales workshops with one of my sales coaches, from one of my business coaches, then about 15 book summaries, I also added in book summaries about visualization, manifestation, and personal energy and how that affects sales. So now I have this really rich content all about sales, and I can start asking it questions. And I'll show you the kind of questions that I asked that notebook and what's possible. So here's my notebook, LM. And basically, you can see the different notebooks that I have. And I'll show you first one based on someone else's knowledge. So Josh Forty, somebody that Jason and I know, and all I did was here, I loaded up. Let me go back one so you see how I did this. All right, so this is the dashboard basically, and all I did was load up the URL to Josh's sales page with this class in mind to show you how you can use someone else's content that you've learned from or resonate with. So Josh sells basically the golden mic method, how to have a podcast and attract your ideal clients with that podcast. I've learned a ton from him. This workshop's $97. It matches. That's typically how much my workshops are. So basically, all it did was give me a summary of his sales page here. And all I did was give it the link to the sales page. When you're loading up sources, you can have up to 50 sources. So if I was going to add a source, I can load up a Google Doc, a Google Slide, a website, a YouTube, or I can cut and paste text. I can upload a file from my computer. And you have up to 50 sources that you can add to a notebook. But we're just going to play with Josh's sales page here. And you have a couple different choices. Over here on the right, you could create a study guide from that sales page. You could create a briefing doc. You could create an FAQ and a timeline. So what's interesting, these aren't going to work too well because we only have one source in here, but you can also interact with what you've shared. So I could ask questions of this sales page document. So let's just try it. They're even suggesting a question: what core principles underpin this wealthy client attraction method? Fine, let's ask that question. So now it's going to go to that document, and it's even going to tell you where it's pulling the information from in the document, which is kind of cool. And it's going to give me the core principles of the Golden Mike method for attracting wealthy clients, revolving around shifting away from traditional exhausting client acquisition strategies and instead focusing on positioning and authentic engagement. Gives me some of the principles. Now, I could take these principles and turn it into something else. I could also ask some more questions. So let's do that. Based on these principles, create a blog post about this for a business coach who has a podcast. Now, this isn't going to be a final draft. This is going to give me an idea of what a blog post based on those principles could be like or about. And it's only going to use the information from that sales page to create this blog post. And what's interesting, if I had more sources in here, more people that I've learned this method from, or maybe even something of Jason's, maybe even something of my own, maybe something about attracting wealthy clients with copywriting from Dan Kennedy. And it would pull all of that information and help me create a blog post and synergize that. Now, of course, it's not a final copy of the blog post. You would have to take this and put it somewhere else and incorporate some other things to it. But you can see what is possible with this, with just one source in place. So let's go back to my notebook about sales. So I was really strategic with this. This is all my favorite sales books. This is things about offers, things about closing with integrity, a whole PDF of the book, Book Yourself Solid, the whole book, Atomic Habits, a whole book about crafting and being in authentic relationships, not just strictly sales, but all the things that make up sales for me. Objections, psychology of selling. Now, see, most of these are copy and pasted. Questions about sales I incorporated. A PDF of a talk I gave about charisma and sales. So I'm really filling this notebook up with not only my intellectual property, but everybody I've learned about sales from. Some information about scaling your coaching practice. Another book called The Art of High Ticket Sales. It was a workbook from a course I took. And then a perfect sales script workbook from another course I took. I also included a study guide from 4 sales books from another notebook. So I had this other notebook with all sales books, and I brought that into this. So now,
Suzanne, can I ask a quick question?
yes.
I notice you can share these. If you share it, does it share like a custom GPT, or does it share the content, like all the questions, everything I've asked, all of
Shares
that?
everything. So you'll be able to access this whole notebook. So let's see if I have your email in here. No, I
Share
don't.
it, just do SANERD. No, type Sherry
Sherry.
SA nerd at gmail.com.
There you go. And now
Okay.
I can send that to you, and you should be able to view everything I created in this notebook, which that's something you can actually do for your clients if you're researching a topic for them. When I'm creating content for one of my one-on-one clients, a lot of times I'll create a notebook for them based on their content pillars and where they learned from, if that makes sense. So their content pillars and where they learned from. Right now I'm working with a hypnotherapist, and I had her make a list of the top 20 books that have accentuated her mindset and advanced her in the world of hypnotherapy, if that makes sense. She gave me those books. I created a notebook for her, and now we can create content that's based on knowledge that's actually in her head that she's learned from. Dr. Phil, question.
Yeah, so it says add a note. I'm assuming that's you typing it in. Audio overview, you can download it as MP3, and then briefing doc is any PDFs, docs, or whatever you can upload.
Yes. So this is the studio portion of NoteBookLM. So basically, these documents over here are the documents that I've created from all of this information over on the left. So it gives you some suggestions of what to add. And I'll give you a peek at the briefing doc. So a briefing doc is a summary of all the notes that you've added, which is just mind blowing to me. So it's briefing me on all of the documents that I've shared with it. So my document that I shared on crafting a compelling offer, it tells me the focus, the key concepts, the value proposition. It's really going into detail of the summary of those documents, which is amazing. Now, I could also convert this to a source. So it would actually, this document I created would actually go into the source documents of this notebook. Not necessary, but you can do that. Now, I also created a strategic sales and business development roadmap. So this is a timeline and a cast of characters based on the information that I've shared with it. So all that information, it now put it in timeline order of how somebody would use that information to have it improve their sales. Oh crap, really? We build habits first. We learn effective questioning. We close with integrity. We handle objections. We build a strong business foundation. Then you get into sales and mindset strategy, managing EOLs, crafting compelling offers. So it's giving you how to do that work in order. Pretty cool. Go ahead, Elsa.
So the biggest question that I have here, like I listen to a lot of the books on audiobooks. I don't actually have anything written, and you were just saying you had a couple of the books in PDF.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm just, my question is, how do I then upload the sources if I don't have, would I go to their websites? Would I, actually getting to that source that I can put in? Because I have so many books that I would love to do this for.
Yes.
But I'm like, how the crap am I going to get it?
Well, typically, and I'll share this with you today, I use a book summary custom GPT. So any book that I don't have my direct hands on, then I will ask this custom GPT for a really detailed chapter by chapter summary of Atomic Habits. And once I get that summary, I'll double check it with another tool to make sure it's, and then I have a book summary website I belong to called Shortform. I can download book summaries from there. And then if I have my personal notes on a book, which many times I do, I'll copy and paste those into this system. So it really takes learning about a single topic. You can take all of your knowledge from all different sources that you've learned from and really benefit from that knowledge. That's what I'm suggesting. Like if you're learning about sales, well, imagine everyone you've learned from, videos, notes, books, all in one place, and then you just click this button to create a study guide. So now having a study guide, the common sales questions, not only could I use these questions in social media content? Yes. Could I use those questions? Oh, I can answer every single one of those. Or it's actually giving you the answers. So that's more content I could use for social media if I'm doing a sales workshop, or that's one of my themes for a month in 2025. So I think just centralizing all of your knowledge and being able to use it in an effective way, it's what's attractive to me. Now, the podcast feature. If you like audio versions of things, there is an audio overview. So you can load this and we'll do it. I didn't do it for this conversation, so I could save it for you guys. It's going to take a few minutes. And what it's going to do is have two virtual voices talk about for 30 minutes, talk about all of your content. So it's basically an audio version of two people having a conversation about your content. And you can download this and upload it to a podcast platform directly. You could have a podcast about a topic. So if all this knowledge was mine, imagine if I load up a blog post and then I do an audio version conversation about that blog post. I can now interact with it with this button right here, which means I can interact with the AI voice that's talking about my content. And it actually works. I've tested it out a couple times and it was really fun. And let's see if you can hear.
Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into
Can you hear that? Yeah? Okay, here we go.
something that I think we all could use a little help with, authentic sales.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
So we're talking about like how to ditch those pushy tactics and find a process that feels good for you and your clients.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that's something we all struggle with.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've got some great books here that we're going to pull from.
Oh yeah, a whole stack.
Like Atomic Habits, Book Yourself Solid, Closing with Integrity.
All the good stuff.
So we're going to pull out the best strategies for creating demand, attracting the right people, and then guiding them towards a yes.
Yes, and a yes that feels authentic.
Yes,
And
exactly.
for everyone involved.
100%.
I'm going to try to join this conversation.
Can't hear you, Suzanne.
Ready for a deep dive into something?
Welcome.
Suzanne, can't hear you.
Hey guys.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Hey guys, I just wanted to join in this conversation about authentic sales. What do you think is possible for a coach if they lean into this idea of having people ask them to work with them instead of sales?
That's a fantastic question, and it really gets to the heart of what we're exploring today.
Yeah, it's like how do you make it so people want to work with you instead of feeling like they're being sold to?
Exactly. It shifts the whole dynamic. I think it's totally possible for coaches to create that kind of demand.
And that's where this idea of value first comes in, right? It's not about pushing a product, it's about offering support.
Absolutely. It's about building a relationship where people feel understood and know you can help.
And we've got some great resources to unpack, like the Prosperous Coach, which really emphasizes this idea.
And that book talks about enrollment conversations not as sales pitches, but as coaching experiences.
Yeah, so it's about using the call as a chance to coach them through their challenges.
It's about
Okay, so can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay.
We can hear you, but the volume's really low.
Yeah, really low.
Okay, it's probably because this is on, but I'll get out. Is that better?
So check your audio on your what it's using on the Zoom room. It's in the the microphone. Which microphone is it
Is that
using?
better?
Getting there.
Getting there. Getting there, getting there. How's that? Yeah, all right. So basically, what I did is I directed the conversation in the beginning, and I don't have to join back in, but I could. So by directing that conversation with the two hosts, I can gear that conversation for coaches based on my mindset about sales and coaching and all the things. So it's a really fun thing to start playing with. And what they are working on is so that you could upload a clone of your voice and have the podcast be in your voice. That's coming very, very soon. So you can actually use this to create a podcast for yourself, which blew my mind. The fact that I could load it with information that I've actually learned and create a podcast from. Incredible. But imagine now I've created a workshop on authentic sales and relationships, and it's given me the modules. And, am I going to create a workshop on sales? Yes, that's why I'm doing this. Am I going to use exactly what it says? No, absolutely not. I'm going to pick out the things that are in my zone of genius and probably leave out some other things, like Module 4, overcoming objections. I don't really do that at all. So I would say that's probably not something I would want in the workshop that I was teaching. So this is what's possible with Notebook, and there is so much more as a storage space of your knowledge. And if you think about it, when you look at your notebooks, so thinking about each one of these notebooks, you could create a database based on different areas of information. You could also, here's a notebook that I created on confidence and charisma. This is all with my book coming on this topic. This is notes from different workshops I've taken, notes from a certification. It's all my knowledge, but I'm putting it together in a different way so that I can actually use it. We've all been there creating a talk or a workshop from a notebook full of written notes. With this, you don't have to do it that way. So, very exciting for me. And I'm going to stop screen share. Actually, let me show you one other thing. This is a notebook I created on one book, just one book, Superfans by Pat Flynn. And all I did was upload the book summary and action plan of Superfans and created a timeline of events and created, I asked this question, some ways a creator can cultivate a sense of community among an audience. So it gave me some suggestions from the book. Now, if I wanted to go deeper into Pat Flynn, I could go grab some of his podcast episodes and put them right here, some of his YouTube videos, and get, more information about what he does and how he does it and how he creates super fans, and actually create more of a study guide for myself. Make sense? All right.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's discuss how could you envision using this for your business or your clients?
I think it's crazy. It's like as if I don't have enough shiny objects in my life right now. I could spend all day doing.
Well, I think that's important with all of these tools, Elsa. It's picking the ones that are going to move the needle in your business and learning them as you have time to learn them. And that's part of the reason I created this mastermind, to accelerate that learning process. Like, I think each of you could go create a notebook now. You might not know how you're going to use that information, but I think that's key. Learning how to do it and then figuring out, okay, well, how am I going to use this in my business?
Yeah, I was just going through all of my book summaries that I have, and I was just taking all the John Maxwell books I have in here and putting them into a what's it called? A
Notebook.
Putting them all into a notebook and just seeing what happens. But
Better
I can
yet, go find a YouTube video of John Maxwell talking and add that to the notebook.
Okay.
Then add, somebody interviewing him to the notebook on a video. Add in his website as a source. then you're really talking a conversation about John Maxwell.
And I could see, I mean, clearly, obviously, building courses and programs out of it. And for coaching clients, I have, for their teams,
Mm-hmm.
easily could have things I could walk people through. And then also for social media content, like you said, the questions that pop up, like just uh, easy series for social media for like the YouTube channel
Mm-hmm.
and things that people could access, for like free gifts and stuff like that
Yeah.
to give away during seminars and things of that nature. So yeah, I mean, too many ideas. It's one of the situations where I get too many ideas and I need to
I know.
process.
I know. Same, obviously. Dr. Phil, do you have a question?
No, you asked what I would do with it. That was my first question. Can we put our voice in there? And when you said it's coming soon, I got really excited.
Mm-hmm.
How I would use it is just taking all of my work, all my discoveries over the last 30 years, my courses and my podcast interviews and everything else, and throw it in here, and then play with creating a podcast,
Yeah.
right? Because I just don't have the time to do all that. But if they can just boom up and it's fine, that's a good thought. And then taking my information, and because with my group coaching, it's every Friday is Business Friday, so I can take my stuff and integrate it with some thoughts that I have, and then now I have 5 or 6 things that people can use to enhance their businesses or their personal life or whatever the case may be. So this is crazy. It's better than Chat GPT at this moment. So um, I'm just trying to figure out how I can take my actual books that I
Mm-hmm.
have. I guess what I rip out the pages and scan every one of them. That
No, I would say, book summary websites like Shortform or Blinkist, or there's numerous different book summary websites. Shortform is my favorite because they're
shortform.com.
they're very detailed summaries, but they limit how many you can download a month. I think they only let you 4 or 5 a month. I guess because it's a monthly membership.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you to come and download everything you need in 1 month, which makes sense. But ChatGPT does a great job summarizing books with the right prompt. I have a custom GPT. I didn't make it. Somebody else made it for book summaries. And if you prompt it with enough information, like I want a detailed chapter by chapter summary of High Performance Habits by Brendan Bouchard, and please go chapter by chapter. So it'll give you chapter 1. And if it's not detailed enough, you could say, please explain 1, 2, 3, and 4 to me, very detailed. And it'll give you more of an explanation, which is great. Then you can go to Brendan Bouchard's website and copy the links for any blog articles that are about his high performance habits and include that. And then you have a database of, just that book, or you could add that to another.
So I'm assuming in there it would then say, this information that I'm about to explain to you is from this author, so you stay in integrity with the information. I'm assuming, does that bring it in when it creates something for you, that it knows it's coming from a copyrighted book, and it will, in that script or whatever the case may be, does it reference that book if you're taking someone else's work? Or it just puts it in as it's your own, and then you have to go in and put it in? Did you freeze? Oh, she's froze. Or my question was so
I thought she was just
shocking.
judging you. She was completely
Just-
judging you. She still is.
She's looking at me like, really? You have to ask me that question?
Exactly. What do you,
all right.
and to clarify for us, what do you mean? Like when you go and then put in a NoteBookLM, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like if all those books she has. So if she's creating a course and something was specific to a person's own, own copyrighted information, does it bring it out and say this is from blank and blank book and gives it, or is it just melds it in as it's your own, and then you have to go in and make sure you
Yeah,
do it?
I think it's
That was my
melding in.
question.
Yeah, I think it's melding in, but it's also um, just how that interaction goes and like what you're designing. The same way of, if you're designing a course. Oh, she says her internet went out. Um, if you're designing a course and it's built from all this stuff that you've learned in these authors, as you have those moments of, it's just that I've learned from this person, I've learned from this book, plus my own stuff. So what I'm going to be teaching you today is a little bit of everything and what I've learned. It's that same approach that you
Got
would
it.
jump in and take.
Perfect. Thank you.
I
Everything
think
we
it's
learn is from somebody, right? So it's kind of hard to say, well, that's your copyrighted material. It's like I get what you're saying, because when you create something, it's like, hey, this is my baby. I don't want you taking my baby. But the thing is I'm teaching you something based on my experience, and you're adding to your experience based on what I'm teaching you. So there's a fine line between plagiarism and this is information I've gleaned from reading your book or listening to your podcast or your blog or whatever, right?
it's like making a college paper, right? You can say, here are the here are the mentors that I have learned from. I'm not saying anything that wasn't already available 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 100, when Plato and Socrates were around, but it's how I apply that learning. And I think that's what's important when we convey these things and saying, I'm pulling my inspiration from these people. I understand that you don't want verbatim what somebody says, and that is then, I'm sure there's somewhere that you can find some other AI that can scan your document for plagiarisms. But you
Yeah, that's
can't.
the constant war back and forth.
Yeah, you can't be faulted for sharing somebody else's idea on how you applied it to your life and how you took it and remolded it in. Otherwise, none of us could bake bread, right? It's the same concept. We all have the same recipe that we got from the internet, but it's still my bread. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Suzanne's saying she'll get back as soon as she can here. Just to let y'all know. But yeah, I've played with it. I think the podcasting thing is just, I mean, it was probably like, yeah, exactly, Sherry. Like the first time I heard that, I was just like, get out of here. What are you talk? Like it just, adding the uhs and the, that natural language. It's fantastic. Um, there's so many things
Scary.
for it.
It's
Yeah,
scary
yeah.
because you
It's
don't know the authority. It's like this person can't point back to a real person who said X, Y, Z. So it's just,
yeah, it's interesting. I think it's also it's such an opportunity more and more for authentic one-on-one show up. It's just going to make that kind of stuff more valuable while there's plenty of opportunity money to be made in the AI version of things and doing more, and I think it's fun. You're back.
I'm back. It's happened 3 times this morning, so I don't know what's happening with
Yikes.
just all of a sudden the power goes out and then it comes back on, which of course disconnects your modem and all that good stuff. So where did we go while I was gone?
Mostly talking about the what Dr. Phil was talking about was the idea of just how to navigate this in terms of not plagiarism and not all that stuff. And it's just similar to any other way you're designing a course and you have this stuff, but it's figuring out that way to interact with it so that you tell it, hey,
Yes.
make sure if you take something verbatim from a book, give me that author and give me that footnote so I can acknowledge it, and just being purposeful with it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really key. That's one of the things I like about uploading my own sources to pull from rather than randomly creating a course from ChatGPT, which is totally possible. But when you upload your own sources, it's not only it's going to cite those sources where the information came from, but if there's sources that you have learned from, it actually feels way more authentic to me. And then, of course, refining the content to make sure that it's in your zone of genius and part of your, content pillars and all of that has to be done in order for it to feel right.
Well, and you prompted some ideas for me as you were going through your tour. I wrote down study guide because I think, I'm producing some videos for college students, graduating students as they prepare to enter the real world with interview skills and communication skills and networking skills. And I could put together some study guides or quizzes or something like that. But also I'm curious to see how it handles right toward this generation or people in their 20s versus if I'm doing a company seminar with multiple ages and want the similar content, how it will present it to say, okay, now I want a quiz or a study guide for all generations combined to see, how it might tweak it a little bit to refine.
Well, so that's where you could take the study guide from NoteBookLM,
Right.
plug that into ChatGPT, and say, here's a study guide that I created. Please recreate it
Okay.
for a college student graduating. Please recreate it for somebody over 70. And
So will NoteBookLM not do that? That's why I need to take
I think you would get a
ChatGPT.
better result with
Okay.
ChatGPT.
Okay.
But you could try it I've
Okay.
never tried something like that custom prompt in
Mhm,
NoteBookLM.
And I've done it in
Google,
ChatGPT, so I know it does a
yeah.
decent job.
Google AI products tend not to be as good with that,
Okay.
but by all means try both and
Mhm.
see, you might like both of them for a millennial and then take both of them into ChatGPT and combine them.
Okay. Very cool.
Awesome. Any other ideas, inputs, questions?
I think for me, and I was thinking about that over the last couple of days, upload all my learning sources, like my master NLP course, my positive, all the stuff that I have there, and create my own sort of summary so that it can be at the forefront of my mind and saying, oh yeah, that was this technique, and how can I apply this, and how can I actually use that technique in my communication so it becomes even more effective? Because sometimes we forget, or I do anyway, forget, oh, what was the Socrates, way of questioning, or what was the ABC model in cognitive, all those kind of things, and we're like, even though it's so routine, constantly have that ability to go in and say, oh, let me just review this one more time. So I don't have to go and actually find the resource. It'll be right there on top of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the next one I'm going to work on I have a life coaching certification from Optimize with Brian Johnson. And it very based in Stoic philosophy, positive psychology, and I have 75 to 100 worksheets that take you through each step of that life coaching certification. And they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal worksheets. And uploading as many of those as I can, or maybe just the topic of work-life balance as an entrepreneur, and taking all of those worksheets and kind of deciphering them, because I do have all of that knowledge. If I sit there and look at the worksheets, I'm like, oh yeah, that and that and that and that. But distilling it all and turning it into something tangible, I think is really key. And that's how we separate ourselves from other people who do what we do, being able to take your intellectual, like, what do I actually know? And getting a reminder of that with a notebook like this is really, really powerful.
I think what just came up for me as you were talking about that was saying, like, if I have that resource, right, and then create the file for that, then I can take that file and dump into my course, 3 or 4 of those knowledge bases that I have, and say, I want to create, I have this course that I had led the way, help me figure out which one of these processes would really work into this course, and what kind of worksheet do I need to would be, supporting what it is, the outcomes that I'm trying to work for in this course. And then, because then all of a sudden you can just exponentially fast track the results, because you have this science combined with, with your methodology.
Yeah, I think that's you're saying the definition of using it as a thinking partner, using it as an assistant.
Yeah.
Imagine when I met one of my mentors, Dr. Dorothy, I was in a coaching program with her, and was at her house for a long weekend with the other women she was coaching. And I walked into her office and I saw these 4 giant notebooks. They were each like this thick. And I said, what's in those 4 white notebooks? And she said, oh, that's the curriculum from my 4-year energy medicine program. And my brain was like, oh my God, I gotta sit down. I sat down on her sofa and I said, do you have all digital versions of all of that? Or am I going to have to take those 4 notebooks and scan them in somewhere? And she's like, no, they're all of that is in PDF form on my computer. And I couldn't even speak to her to explain to her what was possible with that, because my brain was just like on overload of ideas. And I think what these tools have done in that situation, like, she created that 4-year program, she developed all of that, but having a tool that could look through it and pull out what was her next book idea or her next content idea is so, so powerful, because it's actually doing what the human brain can't do without manually flipping through that notebook. Dr.
And
Phil?
overlay it with your your content pillars, and
Right.
then you can get it all
Right. So it was mind blowing to take notebook 1 and turn that into a coaching certification for her. Go ahead, Dr. Phil.
So is this a good, because I know there's different AI to create books or write books. Is this just as good as all the other ones, and or create it here and then what's your thoughts on that?
Well, gosh, I've tried a couple of the, and so has Jason, tried a couple of the book specific writing tools, was not that impressed with them. Jason, how about you?
So I've found a nice back and forth. Dibbly Create, I know we both tried that. What I found with Dibbly is doing this amazing job of the structure of your book, wow, here's something, fiction and nonfiction both, like here's the character, here's the concept, here's the structure, and like, holy smokes, that's awesome. But then I found like a custom GPT that's just in GPT that was writing the individual chapters so much better. So it's like I made the structure over in Dibbly and then started the writing process over with this custom GPT. And that was just a great flow. It's funny you brought that up because that was the NoteBookLM that I was playing with even today while we're on the call, because you've got to train it, right? So
Yeah.
this is the whole back and forth I have with this product too. So it's awesome because it's like, just use this source, right? And these sources. So I put in a couple of books that are around writing, like, okay, that is how you write a book. That's how you write an effective book and things like that. And so you kind of need to train it that way. If you're going to use it for that, you can certainly organize all of your stuff, your notes, your world, your knowledge, like Suzanne's been talking about, have that in there. I'm interested to see if it will back and forth. So far, it seems like it is giving me, hey, using these sources, and that's how you can kind of reference it too. So you may get really purposeful with naming your stuff in there. That's how you'll reference sources. Put in, xbook.pdf based on that. Can you tell me this? And so you can kind of go back and forth with that. And I think so far it's giving that back. It definitely, okay, it's read the scribe method. It's read Write Useful Books. And it's giving me that instruction of like, hey, start with this. What I was trying to do too is like, okay, here's a first draft. Can you rewrite this bad boy to fit what they're talking about over here? Let's go chapter by chapter and do that. And again, 3 minutes of just trying. Hey, it's okay. So far, that's not quite it, but who knows? That might be a way to go about it. So it is different than going and just using one of those AI for book writing tools as well. But it could definitely be
you're saying
process.
use Dibbly to create a structure and then take this notebook to help create the chapters. Is that what you're saying?
I think you can.
Okay.
And even
Thank
if I
you.
can find, I'll put that custom GPT that I found for writing. I think I was using it on the fiction side, but I'll put it in here if I find it.
Sure. I have one I can share with all of you too that I like for writing. For my book on charisma and confidence, haven't decided on a title yet. That looked like doing research, some in Perplexity, some with Chat GPT, some book summaries of other books I've read on body language, eye contact, all of that information that goes into confidence and charisma, and loading that into a notebook, and then just getting a study guide, getting an FAQ sheet on confidence and charisma, pulling some current research from scientific journals or studies as well. I can't remember off the top of my head what, I think it was Perplexity that will pull scientific, like, research, like actual, was it Perplexity? I can't remember. But there's one AI tool that will actually pull medical, like, research papers, which I thought was important for certain things. I'm sure you would too, Phil.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So whenever you have the chance for that custom
Yeah.
link, that'd be great. If not, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah. What else is possible? What else do you got? What do you think, Ram?
Oh, I'm just going through all the options. What else is possible? There's so many possibilities. I'm just kind of like messing around with it and seeing what I can do, putting in YouTube videos and just listening to you guys. It's fascinating. So usually when I learn something new, I have to just sit there, and I have actually
Yeah.
an hour block of time here with nothing to do. Well, I could do other things, but I'm going to dive into this and
Cool.
figure out as much as I can. It's really cool. It's amazing.
Well, this is kind of the format that we're going to follow every, first and third Thursday for this group. And I encourage, if you have a tool that you love and you're well versed in, let me know, and you can lead one of these. I don't want this all to be the Suzanne Tools show. I mean, I do have enough to fill up a year, but I want you guys to contribute too. And that's how we all learn and grow in this space. And I think if you're thinking of creating a custom GPT, Notebook is a great place to start saving your knowledge base in order to create training documents for a custom GPT. And if you'd like to dive deeper on that with me and how I'm doing that, we can just schedule a time to chat about that.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
You're so welcome. So welcome. Don't let it take up too much of your time. Have you be more productive. That's the goal. So we want these tools to save us time and to help us create and produce things faster and think faster and all of that. So don't get overwhelmed with shiny tools. Keep it to 3 or 4 that you're playing with, and have that curiosity mindset is key.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Yeah.
You too.
Bye.
See ya.